Good morning and welcome back. Back from my trip. We're making a game. I don't really remember what was next. My mic's in the wrong place. 1 second. There, is that better? I think that's better. Okay, let's head to our README. I've said fix the game panel layout. It makes sense. So if we go and run the game, then game panel layout. That's interesting. Why game panel? So I've got a edit screen, got an edit panel. You can do whatever wacky things you want to do in there. And this is clipping because this is all just hard coded to be massive. Okay, got you. Yeah, so last time we added the ability to save a piece. So you see that there. I saved a piece. If I hit the button a couple more times now, it does nothing because you can only save a piece once per place. But if I come over here and I hit space, it'll save the piece. Which is pretty cool. So we need to have a think about what we do with this layout. Now we do have a bit of cleverness in our grid layouts already. So if I drag that bigger, you see how it's adding padding on the sides to keep it centered and it fills the height. I drag it small enough that the width then wouldn't fit. It flips and it fills the width and it adds padding to fill the height. I think we do the same on the edit page. So this is a fixed width panel. And then this takes up as much space as possible. My thinking with that. What was my thinking with that? My thinking was something like it might be nice in the future to add the ability to click and drag this. So you can set how big you want these panels. Obviously not implemented. Not sure if we're ever actually going to implement. Oh, sorry. But a thought. So that's why these are hard coded at the minute. Is you might in future be able to do that. Okay. I think with these buttons as well, I've then just had them fill the height. Yeah, so they'll just squash if you make the window a weird size. I think works fine for that. So now we have to think what we do with this. I think that panel's the same width as the other panel, right? No, it's not. Interesting. So maybe that's the first thing, we just make the panel a bit smaller. Right, let's go have a look. Where even is that being done? Gonna be in game panel. So we generate the entity, takes in data with next piece, save piece, and score, so it can populate the UI. And then we have this big chunk of hard-coded niceness that is the game panel. Just skimming to see where the width gets set. Entity dim. Okay, the width gets passed into it. We jump back to Nya. The game panel dim. Set the width to 480. Game screen populate entities. If I instead go to edit screen populate entities and we look for side panel width, it is 400. Should we just pull out a what? I'll put side panel width. Make it 400. Don't know if those added marks. They did not. Let's go update both of those quickly. Nice. Grab all of this and make it big. Last one. Oops, oopsie daisy. Ah. What button am I pressing? There we go. Tried to Emacs too hard, hit the wrong buttons. That's all back. Nice. So the same width now. I guess just for scale, we have a look. I mean, it fixes it on my full screen. The issue still being nothing is shrinking. So I think we do want to make the thing shrink. I doubt anybody ever plays the game that way, but it's nice for it to just not break. So let's think a little bit. This is a hard-coded width, or a hard-coded height. So I think what we then want to do is find the remaining height, and then we work out whether we just fill that, which will happen in that example, or if we have enough room, like here, then the height should be restricted by the width, I guess, to make sure that the thing fits in the thing. Okay. Let's have a think. Let's have a look. I actually don't know where my mark's gone. So game screen. There we go. Okay. So game screen populates entities. This takes in the game state and it outputs the the visible and or interactive elements of the game screen. We have the panel dimensions, which do this. We have a panel position, which makes sense. And then we just push it in. All right, so we are back in here. This is all just display stuff, so there's no clickables or anything. We have some margins. We have a scored dimension. It's not hard-coded. It takes the height over 5. What I might do is pop a comment around all of this. So our game panel just vanishes for now, right? Yeah. And let's think this through a little bit. So stuff's working in terms of the entity width and height. But really, the available width is the entity dim width minus 2 times panel left right margin. Right? Because it's all just in one column. So we have a margin on the left, a margin on the right. And I've made a boo-boo. There we go. And similarly, our available height is the same, but with top bottom. So that's what we've got to work with. Now, how was I doing my dims before? Next piece size was entity dim width minus 4 yeah, just kind of at random, right? I just picked a thing that fit. So, first thing we want to do is put our score dim back in. I would like it to fill the available width. And its height. Should that just be hard coded to a number? Or should I just let it shrink as the width shrinks? The width shouldn't shrink in real use, so setting it to something that's a multiple of the width is essentially setting it to a hard coded number, right? It just means that if I change these margins, it'll update automatically. So let's go ahead and do that. Make it look like it did before, and score pos is a pos. Where my x? Entity pos x is where I've placed the whole panel, plus panel left right margin, so that it's in by one margin. What's the logic with my y? Right, yeah, we move it to the top. So you go entity.pos.y is the bottom left, plus entity dim h would move it to the top, minus the panel top bottom margin, minus its own height, because we set positions of the bottom left corner. And then I would like to have it draw the score so we can just keep an eye on how things are looking. So that should work. Draw a rectangle behind the whole panel. Actually, that's nothing to do with the score. It doesn't need any of that, actually. So let's pop that at the very top. We draw the rectangle around everything. Then say, work out the dimensions. We work out stuff we need for the score. What's that 7 doing? Draw number, min drawn digits. Okay, yeah. So it pads it in with zeros if your score is low. All right, so that should then show a thing. There we go. All right. So we've just rewritten that, essentially. Okay, the next piece size, I said, minus one lot of margin. Interesting. I don't think that's right. I kind of want those two to be the same size, really, don't I? So, should I say in here, like, piece grid size, dim width? Now this is the point we can't know for sure that that fits. Right, because really, I want these square so they look nice. How do we work that out then? Right, so the naive thing I would like to do is this. -2 times panel left right to margin. And we would then just place it. All right, so we then say next piece dim, just like it's done underneath, is W is next. Sorry, piece grid size. All right, we would just do that, the same as what we were doing before, but with less margins taken out. I don't know why we did 4 times margin. All right, let's get the dumb thing back in and working. So next piece pos is a pos. Let's just double check my reasoning in there as well. Entity pos x. Panel left right margin is what we want. Y is equal to score pos y. I think is a reasonable way of doing this. Is it a reasonable way? Yeah, because otherwise we have to go find where the bottom is, move all the way up, and then start taking it at heights. Whereas at least we've done that already in score pos. So really, what we're saying, we want to put it below score. So that gets the bottom left of score minus the margin minus next piece dim.height. We can probably get away with just doing. We call it just piece dim. Like that. And next piece pos looks like this. And saved piece pos would look like, well, panel left, right margin, next piece pos, dot y minus top margin minus height again. And just so I remember, there's a to do in there. That does all of this. And then we draw the grid. All right, we do this. So that essentially does the same thing we had before. I think it centers these properly, which we weren't doing before. So that's nice. It's all still hard coded, so it doesn't fit that nicely. So I think we need to have a bit of a think now on that to do. This is the maximum that we would set. That's even useful to do. So that's the max we would let it be. What determines if we do that, though, is the width. No, it's the height. Okay. I'm not sure pulling out available width was actually that useful here. I guess we've used it here, haven't we? Okay. Available width. Okay, so thinking out loud, that's actually that, right? Like, this is a non-change. Yep. That's as big as it can be. Max pieces fit is a boolean. What we say is available height as the top and bottom margin taken off minus Entity pos Y. Entity dim H. Max piece of fit if the available height minus. I don't think the available height thing helps us thinking this through. Okay, hang on. Entity dim H minus the panel top bot margin minus the score dim H. Okay, no. So we are just doing available height again, aren't we? So available height is the height minus the top and bottom margin minus score dim height, the button itself, minus another round of margin. Max piece of fit, if the available height, just the top bottom margin, minus the score dim, minus top bottom margin. That gets us the room left that our grids plus any margin would have to fill in. Yeah, I don't think it's helping. Okay, so entity dot dim dot height, the whole thing, score. Then how many margins do we need to fit? So there's one at the very top, there's one underneath score, there's one underneath the first piece, one underneath the second piece. So it's four. Four of them. And the max pieces will fit if that number, which is the available space, is greater than or equal to max piece grid size times 2, because it means we can fit both grids one above the other. And then piece grid size okay, so the available grid's height is what all of that is, right? The entity dim dot h minus score dim dot h minus all our padding. So piece grid size is equal to max piece grid size if max pieces fit, else they are available grids height over 2. Try that. Hey. Do we want to do any centering there? Maybe. So they're adjusting size. They're pinning to the left. Is maybe fine? It's certainly improved. don't think adding that's helped, so let's go ahead and do this. Cool. And then I think let's try and center. So that means our position for the grids is not as simple, right? Available grid height, that gets you your piece size. Yes, now what do I have to say? I have to say piece pos, piece x, piece pos x is equal to entity dot pos dot x plus a left right margin if the max piece is fit. Else, I want to go to entity dot pos dot x plus plus what? Piece pos x, entity pos dot x plus the panel left right margin if the max piece is fit. Else it is that x plus the entity width minus piece. Oh my god, what do I call it? Piece dim? Max piece is fit. Piece grid size over 2. So it looks like that. Nope, didn't work. What are we doing wrong? Piece pos x. Oh, we're not put it in. Pos x. Let's see how that looks. There we go. So, in fact, how do I do? If I pop you into a floating window so we can drag you around. Why can't I drag it? God damn it. Is that not how that works? Maximized. Yeah, that should make it float, right? So I should be able to then just grab it. Because it ends up too big. There we go. So, oops. Grab Flectris back. Make it small. Get tall. That feels better, doesn't it? It kind of slowly fills as it's tweaking it. And then at some point, they're filled in. Nice. Very cool. Happy days. Maybe we should have the score width change and the panel width change to give it more room as well. But I don't know. Actually, I think that looks kind of neat at minimum resolution. Right, let us save that. Who reads diffs anyway? What have we done? Fix game panel layout. Push that bad boy up. And that might be us for today. This might have to be a short one. Let's have a quick look together at what's next on the plan. So we have done this, which I think means our UI is kind of in the state that we're going to leave it in for now. There's more we could do. So I think like our buttons want hovering, our edit grid ideally should like ghost the tile and rotation point you would update as you move your mouse around. In fact, we might put that in here. Edit grid ghost tile and rot center on hover. I think that's another point that will make it feel much more finished. A bit like, I don't know if you've seen the older videos I was saying, I think rebind controls is not too hard to do. It makes it slightly easier that I've got a weird keyboard, but I could set it up so that most people could use their normal keyboards with nice controls. People could do what they want, so you don't have to think too hard about it. And it just makes it feel more finished. It's the kind of thing you expect to see in a game. So I think that kind of hovering fits in that as well. Like, it works without it, but it'll feel more done with it. Okay. But yeah, so where does that leave us? We have export a game config as a string and import a game config from a string. I think is the next thing to do, and I think it sounds like a fun thing to do, but I also think it doesn't sound like a short thing. I don't know if you could tell from today. I think traveling a load over the long weekend, I am pretty tired. So I think we're going to take the small win. we're not gonna push our luck and keep adding bits and try to squeeze it in. But I mean, yeah, I think that's a successful little session. Little nibble more progress. No, that's not what I've done. Update readme. I've found maybe this is useful if you're also doing a bit of a side project that's not your main job, and so it's very interrupted. Keeping this readme has been a lifesaver. Just kind of like what I'm going to do next and stuff I'm definitely going to do, but not immediately. I don't know. It's really helped. It's helped much more, I think, than like pulling it all out into like Jira or something, because it's all right there. Right, I can search for it within my editor, which makes life nice. Yeah, that's us done. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I will catch you next time.